Welcome to Casters Guild. The views and opinions expressed by the guild masters and guild members are the sole responsibility of said guild masters and guild members. These views and opinions may change from day to day. And while we may deal with mature topics and are using mature language, this by no means qualifies us as being mature. Viewer discretion is advised.
On February 21st, 1986, The Legend of Zelda was released, a project developed by Shigeru Miyamoto that I would discover several years later. This was my first real obsession, and arguably the reason I am a geek. And it's not just that I used to fall asleep playing the game, controller in hand, but 35 years later, I'd still happily wake up face down on the A button today. And that's the spell we're casting tonight on Casters Guild. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Casters Guild. I am your guild master and hero of rhyme, Rick Perry.
You know I hate this. And I'm your guild master, Baron Kane.
And joining us again is returning guild member. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Returning for the last time, I hope. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it will. But Big Daddy Goron, Grizz, guild member initiate, returning round 2.
And welcome to our first recorded live episode of Casters Guild. If you're listening right now on iTunes, Spotify, Google, whatever, please understand this one's a little bit different. We're recording it live on YouTube and Twitch. So if you are joining us right now on YouTube or Twitch, what is up? Jump in the chat, say hi. We are glad you are here.
So I know we're live, but we're technically still a PG-13 thing, so we're allowed to have one fuck, right?
Yeah, and you just used it. We're good. Yeah.
Oh, no! No!
Womp, womp.
Let's start with a way we always start when it comes to these things. What is... Oh, well, hold on. Actually, I should just throw in one more thing. We are also, because we're on Twitch and we're on YouTube, you might seem a little distracted if you're listening to this episode because we are also playing some of our favorite Zelda games right now. I am playing Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on the Switch. And Baron, I believe you're playing Breath of the Wild.
I am.
And
Solid entry.
Brandon might even jump on his Switch at some point in time and start playing something.
Yeah, I got the little guy right here joining me out on the poach. So who knows? Maybe these... They were like the Luigi green, but I like to think of them as like, cokery green.
So I'm starting my new game and I'm naming my character. And while I'm doing that, what is your favorite Zelda game?
To whom are you posing the question first?
Well, we usually start with the guest, so you go ahead and go.
Okay, dude, you would. You're gonna hate me for this one. Dude, it's so hard to choose a favorite when it comes to Zelda. Much like you mentioned, it's a series I grew up with, and it's what made me fall in love with games. It's what made me fall in love with like geekery in general. And before I speak too much and slip one anyway, is cursing and such allowed on this one? Or I know we're live, so there's no fixing it in post on that.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're marked as adult. We're marked as explicit. So
I figured as much, but I figured it was worth asking as well. So anyhow, no, it's just it got me into so much, and it was the first game I ever played when I was 4 years old. The original, on the Nintendo Entertainment System. I've got a Majora's Mask tattoo with the Triforce. It's kind of hard to see in this lighting, but you can kind of see him there. Damn, he still looks spooky. I love it. But Majora's Mask, I mean, is probably... See, and it's weird, too, because I split them, man. I can't look at all of them as one. Like, I can't define them all under the same category. So when I think of, like, in terms of favorites, I typically break it into your typical, like, 3D, or, like, you got Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, You've got, like your, what do you call that? Like the head down camera style, overworld, I guess you'd consider it. That style. And then now with Breath of the Wild and stuff, you've got like open world. So I mean, technically, you could place them in as many as 3 or probably more categories. But I guess if I had to throw it down to just one, it would probably be Majora's Mask. But Breath of the Wild is so innovative and breathed a whole lot of new life into the series, or gave it a lot of new avenues, possibilities for them to go down, in future entries. So I don't know. Majora's Mask was also, it's also like, especially for Nintendo, it was like one of the darker sides of like, it took some kind of more adult themed or darker, kind of paths and stuff like that, which I loved. Then you got Wind Waker, such a good one too. Just the art style alone on that one is worth like super huge props. It's hard for me to pick a favorite, man. I'm sorry.
No, I get it. I get it. I mean, like, this is one of the reasons we brought you on for this cast. I mean, you are a Zelda head. I'm a Zelda head. I mean, like, it was
very fitting. I was honored to receive the invitation.
Baron, same question.
Well, I would have to say that the Ocarina of Time is probably my favorite, with a Link to the Past kind of right behind it. I just like the styles of those ones.
Sure.
The best. I mean, obviously I'm going to like the first one probably the best, but I feel like I'd be cheating if I said that. But yeah, I definitely would say Ocarina of Time. I think it's the one that made me feel like there was an actual story going on too.
Yeah, if you wanted to get your story out of the first couple, the Legend of Zelda and Legend of Zelda 2, Link's Adventure, you more had to kind of dig a little bit more and find it. The formula that Link to the Past started, that became pretty much a regular formula from then on out for the Legend of Zelda. Go here, find 3 stones. Go here, beat bosses, put together the Triforce, which is the exact same formula that Ocarina of Time used. They just used it in 3D. Was definitely way more story-oriented than the original 2 were. Which I will say is honestly why I think I like some of the originals a little bit more, because
are you thinking of like it's less like hand holding?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like sit here and parrot back things I've heard other people say. If you've ever seen Ego Raptor's sequelitis on,
of course, classic.
On Ocarina of Time, he lets you know that the original Legend of Zelda, if you think about it, like, you didn't know anything. Like, you were just a guy, you were just a hero trying to save a princess, and honestly, you didn't even know that when you started. You were just a dude wearing a green hat, and like, if you went in this cave, you got a sword, and then you just start walking around and seeing what you can find and what you can do, and that sense of discovery and exploration.
Yep.
I
think that's something they really recaptured with Breath of the Wild, and that's one of the things that is so refreshing and unique about it.
Absolutely.
I just, that sense of, just like, you're like, oh, I'm dude who fell asleep for 100 years, and like, I barely fucking remember my name is, Link or whatever you decide to name him, Perpnip.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, yeah. It's just an example. I didn't name Link that. I'm just saying, but
there's not enough characters to name him that.
Right? Yeah. Because I tried. But no, it's just that I agree. That sense of discovery was something that was really cool. That chain shop wants to discover your asshole, by the way.
Yeah, he's trying. This is going to be funny because you're watching me on YouTube, which means you're like 15 seconds behind.
Yeah. Well, that's fucking true. Damn, I didn't even think about the delay.
That's my whole thing about The Legend of Zelda in general. Like, don't get me wrong, Link to the Past was probably my favorite game all the way up until Breath of the Wild came out. Breath of the Wild is now my favorite. But you get that sense of discovery from the original that's just not well. Exploration is encouraged in Link to the Past, right?
Yeah.
There's even certain parts of the game where like you have to explore. Like if you just follow what it tells you and don't ever do any kind of exploration, you can't complete the game. There are things where you just need to explore and see what's over here in order to figure out what's going on.
Right.
But it feels a little bit more like you're being taken on a tour, which Ocarina of Time, I mean, like, I don't want to bitch about Ocarina of Time. I mean, like, you know, it's a masterpiece, especially for its time. But Ocarina of Time was really like, no, you can't do that thing. You got to go do this thing first.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, I hear that sound. So you got Guildmaster Rick, you know, saying that I like having to preface statements that I'm not shitting on the game that you just said was your favorite. And then you hear ba-doo.
How appropriate.
No, but yeah, I get what you're saying. You know, there are definitely successes and not. I wouldn't say failures except for, you know, Zelda 2, but that was the only one that I've not really cared for.
I will defend Zelda 2.
I mean, I'm not saying that I don't think it's a good game. I do like it as a game, but it's just like it's not like it's the Zelda game that I hate. It's not a game that I hate. It's the Zelda game I hate because it was not. It was one of the ones where they, you know, obviously they have a plethora of different avenues that they've gone through since, but you know, that was the first kind of departure because they had only had one predecessor to it. It was the only change of the formula because there was only one formula at that point, but it just didn't feel like Zelda as much to me. I didn't get as much of it. I don't know. It felt like they were trying to play like a little bit of Pitfall action and like all this other jazz with it, and just
they definitely didn't really know what Zelda was yet when Zelda came out. They were like, we don't really know what we're doing.
So let me just kind of jump in there since we're talking about games we don't like. I cannot get over how hard this game is to me. It could just be because I'm stuck on, like, you know, old person time where I can only handle certain Zelda games, but I've been stuck on Water Ganon for about 3 months.
Oh shit.
Oh, Water Blight Ganon is tough. Like that's he's kind of a pain in the dick. Yeah, he's not great.
Oh, come on, hit him. Oh no. Oh, also Joy-Con drift doesn't help.
No,
it does not. I will say, as much as people complain about Joy-Con drift, that is not an issue I've ever had.
I had it on one of my original Joy-Con, and I sent it in and they repaired it, and I haven't had it since.
Yeah, I think that's all I need to do is just send mine in, get it done.
Yeah.
I also a lot of playing Breath of the Wild, I bought one of the wired Pro controllers for like $20, and that's what I did for a lot of it for Breath of the Wild anyway.
Yeah, I use I've got a wireless Pro controller that I use, and I for everything in docked mode. I love that thing. It's amazing. They are super expensive though.
Yeah, the wireless ones. Yeah, that's why I bought the $20 wired.
Dude, I don't blame you. They're nice, but yeah, they cost a hurt a penny. But yeah, whew, yeah.
But Breath of the Wild definitely upped the difficulty level.
Yeah, it brought back a lot of that initial feel of like, yeah, you're starting out, you're like a dude in your, you know, skivvies with, you know, not really a twig to your name until you walk down the road and pick one up, you know, and then I didn't really care for how brittle the durability system was on a lot of their weapons. Like, I wish it had been a little bit, you could, or at least you had ways you could maybe upgrade them to, like, lengthen the durability. I think that would have been kind of neat, because there's a lot of weapons that are some of the rarer ones, but
Mhm.
there's some of the more fun or cooler ones to use. So you get used to using it, or good with using it, but you rarely have an opportunity to use XYZ, weapon.
Right. No, I absolutely understand that.
But it in no way like detracted from my enjoyment of Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild
Yeah.
is an absolute masterpiece. IMO.
I enjoyed the durability system just because it kind of forced me to get out of my comfort zone with certain weapons.
Yeah, no, that's fair too.
Like, it was like, no, you can't just use one-handed swords the whole time. Like, you need to try something else. And, like, sure, you found this badass fire sword, but, like, it's only going to last for so long, so don't rely on it,
Right.
You have to really rely on your own combat ability after a while. And the cool thing, I think, about the durability of weapons is if you get a good idea about when something's about to break, you can go ahead and throw it and do even more damage
I
than that
do love
last
that. I do love that, because there's especially, they knew what they were doing too. That smack when you hit them with it, and when the weapon breaks, it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
satisfying.
So
It's
satisfying.
so satisfying. Oh, nothing more satisfying than throwing like an electrical trident right into the face of Lizalfos, and he just like sits there and gets electrocuted. Plus, if it didn't break, it would probably just skewer him straight down, head to
Right.
butthole.
The extra damage is just so good.
Yeah, it's nice. It's real nice. Heck yeah. I don't know. Link's Awakening was a really good one too, and that was another one that they, speaking of, since you're playing the HD, remaster or whatever, it's which is really good, by the way. I know you're playing it. Obviously, I've played it.
Oh, yeah.
A couple times through already myself, and it was one of my favorite games. Also, growing up, because I used to, being from Minnesota and living in Nashville or thereabouts in Tennessee, back and forth, especially early growing up and stuff, like, my Game Boy Color or whatever was one of my go-to. And I had, Link's Awakening DX on it, and I played the absolute shit out of that game. I remember I had the old like Prima guide eventually, so I could find all the extra shit that I couldn't find myself after I'd beaten it like 10 times. And
Right.
man, it was so good. And it was so different. It was one of the first ones, or it may even be to date, at least all the localized ones, or North America released ones, that actually like have reference to, or like cameos of characters, items, things like that from other Nintendo properties. Like, they're very
that was
few.
definitely just the North American ones.
Yeah, well, that's what I figured. I remember because there's
So, fun
like,
little story
CDI
about
and Project, or Famicom. They had like a couple that were stranger, that I don't know all of them. I know a couple of them, but I haven't ever
fun little
played any of
story
them.
about Link's Awakening is it didn't start as an official Zelda project. So, man, I forget his name. I want to say it wasn't IG Enuma. It might have been IG Enuma. But basically, the Game Boy was pretty much a new project, like a new system. And he started just making a Zelda-like game for the Game Boy to see if the Game Boy could handle it, just to see what the Game Boy was capable of. And then him and a bunch of other developers started working on it after work. Like, their normal work hours, they'd work on what they normally had to work on for Nintendo, the games that they normally had to work on. And then they all would meet after work to work on this Game Boy Zelda project, completely without Nintendo's knowledge or anything like that. And so as they, yeah, well, like, they never planned on releasing it, right?
Sure, yeah.
And eventually they got Shigeru involved, Shigeru Miyamoto. They got him involved, and he was like, "Yeah, this is super fun." And they started to like the project so much that they officially pitched it. They were like, hey, we've been making this game just to see what the Game Boy can do, and we think it's a lot of fun. And so they got the green light, and they were like, make this game. And so then, since there was
story.
like 20 people working on it, you know, like all after work, like they just had fun with it. Like the entire fishing mini game was just made by one guy who just was known for fishing after work, and he really liked to fish. So he just threw fishing in there.
That's awesome.
So you had a bunch of people, and they didn't get permission to use any of the other Nintendo characters. They just used them because they were like, it's the Game Boy. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to tell us, no, we can't use those characters. So they just used them. And, you know, this is the game we got out of it because of that, because it was the Game Boy and because nobody cared. But, you know, this is what we got.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I hadn't ever heard that about like how it got started and stuff, but that's really cool. It makes me like it even more.
Yeah, Zelda's kind of always been like that. I mean, like Majora's Mask honestly has a bit of a similar story where Eiji Aonuma, basically they wanted him to make a Zelda game, and I forget what they wanted him to make after Ocarina of the Time had come out, but they wanted to make something entirely different that Eiji Aonuma didn't like. And so they said, okay, well, if you don't like it, then make your own Zelda game, but you have to finish it in a year.
Oh.
And so he said, bet.
Yeah, I
and
was
he
gonna
made
say
Majora's
bet. Yeah, boy.
But he said because of the development cycle of that game and how quickly he'd make it, he said he used to have nightmares about that game.
Wow.
Like one of the nightmares that like inspired the game in general is like he had a nightmare of being chased by a Deku.
You mean basically anytime you throw on a mask?
Yeah.
Or at least of the major three races outside of Hylian, you know, like the the Deku mask is and you know, turn into the little Deku shrub, and Mikhail from Zora is no better, dude. Like has those glowing, you know, like yellowish eyes and the cracks around the eyelids and stuff.
Exactly.
Not to mention when you finally get to like Majora, and then he's got like this slink monster, like tentacleness crap going after you. It's so far and wide away from what Nintendo was like seemingly about at the time. It was, and I think that's one of the things that I like loved about it. It was great, man. When that game first came out, I got it, and I convinced my mom that I was gonna stay home. I can't remember how I got away with it. It wasn't like, I don't know, it was some bullshit, I'm sure. I mean, I got away with some stuff when I was a kid sometimes, but like, yeah, I took 3 days off, like a Wednesday through Friday into the weekend, and just gave myself, or decided I was gonna take 5 days off, you know, from school, and I was gonna play the fuck out of Majora's Mask when it came out. And
right.
I remember immediately just falling in love with it. I didn't do shit else for those days except for play Majora's Mask.
I contemplated stealing the shovel there for a second. Decided not to.
Come on. Get up there. Oh, I see what's going on. All right.
So, yeah, fun little facts. I said it in the intro, but the first Legend of Zelda was released on February 21st, 1986. And I was born February 20th, 1987. 364 days later. So almost a year. Exactly. So the anniversaries are always right around my birthday, which I always thought was really cool.
That is dope. That is super dope. Have you ever been to like Symphony of the Goddess or anything like that?
No, I have a friend who went to the first live orchestra of the I forget which the first one was that they did with the entire symphony orchestra, and like they had the live performance. I have a friend who went, but I never got to go.
I've seen it twice, and I've also seen the segments that they borrow when they do video games live orchestra.
Right.
And I've seen that once. And oh my god, yeah, seeing Symphony of the Goddess live, and then yeah, it's like the 30th anniversary a couple years ago when they did the last one, and I can't remember what it was called either. I saw it the first time as Symphony of the Goddess, and then I saw the second one too. But dude, whew, man, and that's another thing too. Like Zelda, not only got me into those things from a video game perspective, or like I was saying, other forms of media, that had to do with like medieval or adventuring or stuff like that. But just like the soundtrack, all of them are brilliant. It doesn't matter what Zelda game you play. The soundtrack is just like score upon score upon score of just like knocking it out of the park. Like the atmospheric ambiance, the score, everything is amazing. And I found that especially it's like influenced my music taste too. Like I like all sorts of stuff, but primarily the past couple years, especially as it's become more popularized, I find myself listening to like either orchestral scores or like remixes in different stylings, like electric or instrumental with drums, guitars, all that kind of stuff. Video game music or tracks, from video games and stuff. Mostly with Zelda, but like Mario and Final Fantasy and all sorts of stuff like that too. But yeah, Zelda was one of the big ones that drew me into music too, for those.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then the sound effects too that they use are just absolutely like, not. I mean, even people who call Link Zelda know the da 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 da. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
like,
yeah.
That's so. It's so. I don't know. Recognizable. Arguably as much as, well, probably not as much. I'm biased, but I would say the mushroom, like or like the coin bling from Mario. I was gonna say that, it's arguably as recognizable as that, but I can sniff my own bias.
That's pretty close
when it's there. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not.
Yeah.
It's not too far of a shot, but I'm probably pushing it a little bit closer than it is. If I'm being just straight up honest with myself, you know what I'm saying? Speaking at truths. And I know I'm on a delay, so I didn't want to call, when I saw it, because, I know it's not going to be relevant by the time I say it anyway. But to swing back a point between what you're playing here, or what you had, gone past a little while ago, and then Baron talking about Ocarina of Time, and shit, even in Majora's Mask, the fucking owl, dude, the fucking owl, like, my God, fuck that owl.
Yeah, in Ocarina of Time, like that it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah. You know how many times like I bout through my N64 controller because I hit yes, I want to hear this again, like for the 17th time in a row?
Oh yeah.
Because I'm like sitting there like smash, smash, smash. Okay, it's coming. Fuck! Like every time. Yes, I want to hear it again. It just sits there and tells you how many licks it takes to get the center of a Tootsie Pop,
Because the world will always know.
Yep, that's right. But yeah, man, I don't know. There's so many good ones. I was talking about like, it's so hard to pick a favorite and everything else.
Oh yeah.
Like Wind Waker is another one that I would consider one of my, it's like I could call just about every Zelda game my favorite.
Oh my God, Wind Waker. Let me tell you, like it just goes back to what I was talking about before when it comes to like the hand-holdy game versus exploration. Like Wind Waker is 100% about exploration.
Oh yeah,
like you get on the boat and you get out there and you just see what you can find.
Yeah, 3/4 of the way through the game, you gotta like literally go fish like 18 shards of the Triforce out of the ocean. Just just go fishing for the Triforce. And yeah, sure, you can find treasure maps. They're like, okay, it's in this square or something, but like, dude, you know how long it took me to find those things the first time through? I hate those damn pieces. I was like, I thought it was only 3 pieces. What do you mean 18 pieces of Triforce?
So another person in Baron's chat just brought up a good point. Have you guys heard about the Nintendo Land that they're coming out with? I believe they already have it in the Japanese Universal Studios.
I know the Japanese Universal Studios recently opened their Mario theme park. And I don't know what their plans are as far as the other ones. I don't know if they opened other ones already or.
There are plans for a Zelda, entire Zelda theme section.
Yeah. And there was I saw a little there's like little Easter eggs about other Nintendo stuff throughout have you guys watched that? That's super cool. Some of the like videos of it.
I've seen some of it, yeah.
There's like a little Pikmin coming out of one of the little tubes and stuff. It's hilarious.
And they have like their own version of like Disney's got that thing called the Magic Band.
Oh right, yeah, the little coin bopper thing.
Yeah, they've got their own version of the Magic Band where you can like go around and interact with objects around the park, which is just ridiculously cool.
Oh yeah, I can only hope I'll live to see Hyrule come to a Universal stateside or get the opportunity to travel to the Japan Universal Studios, and dude, imagine this is now I'm gonna get like Triforce foil hat theories, as far as like bringing shit to the US. Like, oh my God, can you imagine? Like, just looking at some of the stuff they did interactivity wise with the Mario Park that's already out. Like, imagine if there's like a place where you can go and like take the Master Sword out of the hilt of like the Temple of Time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Dude. Oh man, too cool. Like,
and then like they could have a light show around you.
Like, it's got to be the whole thing. Like, you've got to go to different parts of the park and get like the
Sage's stones.
And like, if you've got all the Sage's stones on your band, then you can pull it. Like, we try to pull it before that, like, just nothing happens.
Yeah. Impa just comes and like scissor kicks you in the face.
Oh God!
Yeah, you're gonna wish you could play the Song of Time to rewind before I whoop that ass. Oh man, yeah. I don't know. I've always wanted like that's another thing. Like the ocarina thing was really cool too, because it was like a really minute way of implementing like an instrument, but in a game that had like such a lovable and like fascinating soundtrack and stuff, like being able to play portions of like some of the coolest songs, was awesome. And it didn't feel quite as like it didn't hold the same gravity for me with Wind Waker. I don't think that the like little talk like I don't think that did it for me the same way as like a dude going batshit about a Song of Storms in a a windmill.
Right.
Yeah. That stuff that was one of my favorites. Dude, it was like those I could get on there and just run around that windmill and just like let it carry him for minutes of
just listen to the song.
Jovial, youthful, giggle fit entertainment.
Yeah. Like you said before, the sound design of Zelda, like you will play the sounds in your head forever. Like the soundtracks will live in your head rent free. And then on top of that, like you'll just do things in your everyday life, and sound effects from Zelda will play if you played it 100%. As much as we have.
100%.
It's just so good. Like what they did with, and of course it's gotten better and better as technology has gotten better and better. But what they did with what they had back in like the 8-bit era and the 16-bit era is it's nuts.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They definitely milked it for all it was worth. I mean, including with the soundtracks and stuff. It's like, all right, you only have this many notes. Oh, okay.
And yet they made that iconic first overworld theme.
Yep.
Yes,
which,
indeed.
Speaking of sound design, rather controversial for Breath of the Wild, their choices they made with sound design. they decided to have pretty much no music.
Yeah. But we did get oh shit. What was his name? It's not, is it Caspar the Bard?
Oh, I forget his name. The great big bird dude. But yeah, I don't remember what his name was.
Yeah,
but
but
yeah,
the
we
Bard, dude, that guy was dope. I would follow him
Yes.
everywhere. I was like, I would gladly do this side quest. Please sing me more beautiful tunes of my childhood, Feather Daddy. Like, I'm about it. I'm about it.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
definitely
you
don't
got a
disagree with
little
that at all.
Toucan Sam going on up here, but man, you spin that gold. Yeah, no, he definitely was a dope character. I loved that. I thought that since they did kind of go for less of, you know, because it was more like they still had, correct me if I'm wrong, like themes when you were in like settlements, major towns, stuff like that. I'm almost certain, and stuff like that. But yeah, when you were out in the wild, it was all about atmospheric, you know, like for the Gorons, in the in like Death Mountain and shit like that, where you have the lava and stuff everywhere, and just like hearing the bubbling and like pressure gauges, and like they have little natural air geysers and steam or what do you call it, natural springs.
Yes.
And stuff like that. I mean, so it's all of this crazy atmospheric sound that really, God, I'm such a dick for doing, like continuing the breathes fresh, it breathed new life into the sound design. I mean, it was a definite stray away, but they did like achieve something really cool.
They put it to work. Like when sounds did kick in, like you can't tell me the fact that there was no music or very little minimal music, like, you know, a little tickle of the piano keys here and there. And then the first time you ran into one of those dragons, and that dragon theme like kicked in, and then like you just look up and see it just floating overhead, like they. And once again, I'm not trying to crap on the old Zeldas, but had that happened in Ocarina of Time, you know, immediately they would have took the camera away from you, turned it into a cutscene, and been like, "Look at this dragon, look at it," and like it would have happened at a particular pace at a particular time. And with Breath of the Wild, it could happen, you know, anywhere.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, finish. I have something for you, though.
Okay. So they just kind of give you the, like, of course I want to look at the dragon. Of course I want to bask in this moment. And I got to do it exactly the way I wanted to do it, in like looking at the dragon. You know, I don't know how else to explain it, but like, you know, I got to have my moment instead of having the moment. They were like, you need to have this moment.
Right. Dude, I remember, I mean, I agree with that. Before I get to the thing I had for you, I will say I agree with that, because the first one I ran into when I was first playing Breath of the Wild was Furore. And, you know, she's flying over that like chasm, and it's near one of the picture points, like at that tree that's on the like the far ledge of that chasm. It's got like a mountaintop or whatever. And I was just like, whoa! I didn't know it was Furore. You know, I didn't know that they were Linear, Furore, and Din, you know, as spiritual like dragon forms at the time or whatever. I was just like, what in the world is this? Is this some crazy like world boss? Is he gonna come and like eat me up? I'm like, oh my God. So like that was a really cool, I 100% agree with you. But I do have to point out that what you fear so badly, I don't know how many times or how recent the last time you played Ocarina of Time was, but I'm pretty sure you're describing the boss cutscene for Volvagia as far as the moment they wanted you to have with that dragon. Because they did that.
Yeah, but like you gotta admit, like most of those bosses, like even the first boss, like you know you get to the bottom of the Deku tree, and Goma shows up, and they're just like, now look at it, look, here it is, it's right here, And it's like, okay,
looking at you, because he's like, you're gonna see me seeing you right now.
yeah,
Like
the bosses, like, they take the camera from you, they focus the camera on the thing that they want you to look at, and they force you to look at it, and it goes into a little cutscene. And it's like, I don't need a cutscene. Like, I don't need it. I don't.
I
Like,
will say,
it's the most interesting thing on the screen. I'm gonna look at it. I don't need you to point the camera at it for me.
yeah. I just thought it was funny that, you made that correlation, and I was like, well, they kind of did do that with Slovakia. They're like,
shut up.
Because Slovakia is a kind of a dragon, and then you just thwomp it with a hammer, and then it shakes its little, dreadlocks, its dragon dreadlocks around.
But imagine how much cooler of a moment Goma would have been if, like, you didn't realize it was on the ceiling and it didn't have a camera moment where, like, it like took the camera from you. It was like, there's Goma, like, and you just walked into the room and you're like looking around. And you're like, what's going on with this room? And then boom, all of a sudden it drops down behind you or on top of you. Like,
that's how much Demon Soul shit.
That be? Yeah. And people love that game for good reason.
I love that game. I love it. I've beaten it 4 times already, and I've only had a PS4 for like 3 months. Or a PS5, excuse me.
It's 100% what I'm talking about, where like they just kind of tell you what the important thing is, but like they should just let you do it. And I think even
Demon Souls, like they couldn't make that plot make sense no matter how hard they tried. They could hire every like famous or like heralded writer from every popularized game franchise over the past 25 years, and they'd be like, fuck, I got nothing. I'm sorry. Like,
I know
where
to
go with what you have put on the board. I don't even know, but I don't know. But I agree. It's I definitely wish that some of those entries had a little bit less of that.
Like I said, I love Zelda. Like I love all of the games. I'm not trying to like crap on it or anything, but it's one of those things where if I don't talk about the problems that I had with it, I wouldn't be being honest with myself, you know?
Right. I feel you. I mean, that's fair. There are, just because of how much we love Zelda as a source material, as a franchise, as a video game, as a whatever, the sound design, the music scores, no matter how much we love it for all of the different things or just overall, it doesn't mean that we can't admit that it is not without its imperfections, you know?
Right.
I'm not going to be like, I've made the term in the Triforce foil hat earlier, but that it does not mean that I'm gonna like go or like Zeldalix Jones on you and and be like, you're oh shit, okay, let's see here, how you're turning the Zoras and Hylian Lake gay, or like or whatever, like, I don't know what you want to equate it to, but
that's close enough for that guy.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I'm saying your impression was pretty good.
Thank you.
Had it. There it was.
Yeah. Well, get over here, dumbass. You're an intellectual dumbass, and I'm coming. Like, dude, there's some like. That guy is hilariously quotable for all of the wrong reasons.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's the best way I can think to put it. But yeah, I don't know, man. Zelda is just something special. It always has been to me. And like I said, it has its imperfections. I mean, like at first, I was like, okay, why the fuck am I trying to talk to a hat? Like, they were trying to sell me on Minish Cap, and I was like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's this little birdie motherfucker coming off the end of my green hat for? Like, well, why do I got a little squawky guy now? But I actually really ended up liking Minish Cap. Minish Cap was cool. They tried all sorts of different stuff, Oracle Sages, Oracle Seasons, in reference to, or going back a little bit to the handheld, like, kind of experimentation they went with for a little bit. They weren't great. They were well, I liked them a lot, but they weren't anything like revolutionary. It was like basically, at least in my opinion, it felt like an extension of Link's Awakening a little bit. You know, where it was just more of that kind of same but different handheld Zelda format. You know, at that point.
Well, that's the kind of thing about Zelda that I didn't really think about until you just kind of brought that up. You know, a lot of people, if you ask anybody what is Zelda, they'll be able to tell you exactly what Zelda is, right? Like, you know, you have a sword, you go to the place, you do the thing, you get the weapons in the dungeon, you use that weapon to beat that dungeon's boss, you know, and it's kind of what it's always been. But the thing about it is every one of the Zelda games truly is different, you know? Like, none of them are 100% copycats of each other. With, honestly, I think the exception being, and here's my hot take, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time are the same game. It's just one of them is in 3D, which doesn't always work out because it's in 3D.
Yeah, but you had a Pona.
Yes,
in Ocarina of Time.
You did. There was all the horse girls got their moment in the sun for Zelda because they got to have a horse.
Are you calling me a horse girl?
I don't know.
I'm not, man. Okay.
Brandon, if the shoe fits, I'm not calling you that. But if the shoe fits, then you feel free to wear it, honey. Like, that's
if the horseshoe fits.
Yep.
Oh, this guy.
But like most of the games, they have their thing, and like some people might call it a gimmick, but I don't think gimmick. I think has kind of a negative connotation to it. I wouldn't even call it gimmicky. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Like
absolutely.
I feel like they try different things each time, and they do it well, which is one of my defenses for Zelda 2, because like no, they didn't know what they were doing when it came to Zelda, but they tried something new. And people didn't like it because it was so different, but honestly, I still think it worked for what it was. I mean, like, it was an adventure game that was a whole lot more combat focused. Was
this just a long walk for you to come all the way back just to defend Zelda 2?
No, but I'm glad we got there.
Oh, man.
It's not about the destination, Baron. It's about that motherfucking journey, bruh.
Oh, man.
Journey through Hyrule.
But
specifically this evening.
There's a lot of combat in Legend of Zelda in general, and all the different games that we have, and a lot of RPG elements that we have Zelda 2 to thank for.
Yeah. And like, yeah, like it was one of, I don't know if it was the first, but it was one of the first, I feel like, using the downward stab. You know, that
it was
exactly
stab. Absolutely was.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought it was one of, if not the first, but yeah. You know, so I don't want to shit on it, or, you know, I don't think that it's a bad game by any means, you know, and things like that. It's just in a franchise or a whatever you want to call it, you know, in the Zelda-verse that I admittedly put a little bit on a pedestal. I'm sorry for whatever happened to you, by the way, Baron. You know, it's definitely at the bottom for me.
See, now
that's above a lot of other games and stuff.
That's where I'm going to disagree, because a lot of people shit on Zelda 2 like it is the bottom, like it's the worst of the series. But let's talk about a game we haven't talked about yet, and talk a little bit about Skyward Sword, because I'm sorry, Zelda 2 is better than Skyward Sword.
I'll see that they're IMO, they're equal. How about
that? I don't. You know what? In your opinion, that's great.
The only reason, I'll give you this. I think that the Switch port will make them equal, because you'll have the option not to use what I will call purposefully with negative connotations, the gimmicky ass motion controls that they tried to implement, because that shit almost ruined that game. It nearly killed it. Like I wanted to love that game and like it so much more, but I was like, these motion controls are ass. This bomb bowling shit doesn't work. Like, like it was awful.
Should have worked. Bomb bowling as a concept.
Yeah, you'd think.
But you're right. It doesn't work at all.
So I'll say that. I'll give you that. I think that I like Zelda 2 as much as I'm going to like the Skyward Sword that doesn't make you use motion controls.
Even so, I mean, there's a lot of things about Skyward Sword I don't like, and that the fact of not being able to have to use motion controls are not going to fix. You know me, I like the exploration. I don't like the dowsing. I don't like
the dowsing does
how
really get on my nerves.
I don't like how handholdy and you must do that. There is zero exploration in Skyward Sword. Like if you're going to talk about like,
ironically, for like a game about you falling out of the sky to a whole new world,
sorry.
Hey man, you got a beautiful singing voice.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, dude. Anytime, Baron. Call me later.
You know it.
It's just I'd never thought about it that way before, but that's an excellent point that, ironically for a game where you literally fall your ass out of the sky and like have this whole new place to like look into, you're like, oh hey, I'm gonna follow this exact road to go to this lake and talk to a fucking dragon like out of a lake.
And if you do anything other than exactly what it wants you to do, then Fee pops out of the sword and goes, hey, no, go do the thing. Go do the thing that you should be doing this thing. We don't have time for you to go fuck around.
She's the gatekeeper of convenience Nintendo built into your fucking Master Sword so that they didn't have to put a gate guard every 6 feet to tell you, like, this gate's closed. You don't have access to this area yet. Traveler, please turn around. And like all this shit.
Yep.
I never thought of it that way, but that is a brilliant point. And yeah, she's like, there's... she's always talking about... It always seems so... At one level, yes, base-handedly like, follow my lead, traveler. But also, in a strange way, oddly sexual at some point. I don't know. Maybe that was just me. Maybe that was just me.
I think I didn't like the game enough to even. Yeah. There was the dowsing, there was the bomb bowling, there was the like. There are so many things. Like, okay, the other thing about Skyward Sword is there's nothing to do in the sky, and it's so empty. Like, the sky is literally just like a fast travel system. Like, there aren't even clouds. Like, there's nothing for you to do. Like, it could have been such a cool little mini game where you whip from point A to point B, and they could have been like, here's some rings to fly through. Here's some rupees you can collect. Here's some treasures that are floating on a balloon for you to get. Something, you know?
Man, why do you, like... got to make all these valid points that make me reconsider how much I enjoy, like, all these classics. And
look,
why are you friends, Richard? No, just kidding.
If you like Skyward Sword, I mean, you're wrong, but you're allowed to. I'm
allowed to like it, or I'm allowed to be wrong.
Both.
I'll accept. I accept your terms.
Oh
no, you're wrong.
Oh no. I don't know how to kill the other one.
What other one?
The Wizrobes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Come here, Wizrobe.
Their Wizrobes are a bit of a dick in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, I got them.
Certainly are. God. They just, prance around, and then they're like, oh, hey, bitch, here's this wand and element.
How silly of me to have not told you that I'm not playing Breath of the Wild anymore.
Oh, okay.
Well, what a development. Breaking news, everyone. Stop everything. Baron has breathed his last wild.
He just didn't 100% focused on Water Blight Ganon the entire time we were trying to talk. He was like, "There's no way I'm doing a podcast trying to fight Water Blight Ganon."
Well, you know what I tried to do? I tried to leave that shrine so that I could, I don't know, explore the world and just do whatever. And
go talk to Sidon because he's like your super awesome mega best friend.
Yeah.
Oh, you may not have. Well, no, you had to have met.
Yeah.
He's fighting Water Blight.
Yeah. Prince Sidon was like Brofish Omega level.
Yeah, I think he wants some.
Dude, I was like, I was always like thinking about. It's like one of those. God, I'm terrible. Link gets stuck underneath one of the rungs of the thing. He's like, "Help me, stepfish, bro!" Like, Sidon coming up behind him, like Link's trousers just slip up. Oops.
Yeah, that's wrong.
It's dude. That's what the internet does to people these days. It just Rule 34ism.
Yep,
it's very true.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, what other fucking Zelda game though? This is gonna be a little dated since it's like a delay, but what other fucking game it does has these like adorable little trees where you can just call an old man for fucking hints whenever you want? Like,
yep.
Dude, it's such a good game. I love Link's Awakening. You're just like, "Hey, Earl, how's it going? Oh yeah, you bored. Watch out for those little oh god, now I can't remember what they're called. Little guys that eat your shield and shit."
Like
Yeah, likes. God, I can remember like Goma and Volvagia, all these like crazy stupid boss names, but like I forget likes.
All right, as long as we're given certain Zelda games shit, Zelda 1 did not know how to name enemies.
Oh no, it definitely didn't. We have Dark Nuts and
it's a snake. What do we call it? It's snake. What do we call it? It's a rope.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a rope.
Bats. Oh, we'll just call them keys.
Well, what do we call the keys? Oh, they're also keys.
Yeah.
But the bats are keys. Yep.
Well, what's the problem, Jim? But won't they know that? Won't they have trouble different? No, we'll just spell it different. It's okay.
But
Keys is Keys and keys is Keese. Couldn't be simpler.
Let's call these. What do we call they're mummies? What do we call these? Call it a mummy? Nah, bro. That's a Gibdo.
Oh yeah, Gibdo. Yeah.
So those guys that eat your shield. Am I the only one that thought they looked like pancakes in the first game?
Oh, definitely not.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They do.
Okay.
They look like fucking IHOP special at 3 a.m. Like flapjacking it.
Now I want to go.
That is almost like a different connotation when you like place it into being a verb. Flapjacking it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, BRB. I gotta go because I'm about to be flapjacking it. Like that has a connotation.
Not going over to your place for breakfast. If you're gonna be flapjacking it for breakfast.
I think that's I think that was what I was gonna call bearing up about later. Was maybe going so we could flapjack it. Or go flapjacking.
We gonna get sticky?
You got that maple syrup, bro. That's one of my major exports. We'll get it.
What the
Oh
fuck?
my god,
This game.
it is a strange thing too to see some of the way that the enemies over time have developed across the different generations.
Oh yeah.
Like
in Breath of the Wild, those things.
Lionel's.
Oh, Lionel's too, but I said Moblins.
Oh, Moblins. Sorry, like the audio cut out there for me for a second. But yeah, Moblins, they look awesome. I love their look for that world. It looks great. But yeah, I mean, I definitely prefer it over. Speaking of like Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, their enemy design was kind of like shit in some cases, comparatively. Anyway, like let me put a blanket statement on this podcast that my opinions discussed are from a like Zelda centric point of view, And I'm speaking. So if I say that something is shit about Zelda, most likely it's going to be in comparison to other Zelda things, which still means I think it's amazing and I love it. So just
it's
putting that
still,
out there. Just putting that
it's
out
like
there.
it's still great. It's just comparatively.
Right. Like comparatively, Breath of the Wild took the colorfulness of that like cell shaded and like graphic novel-y art style that I loved about Wind Waker, but like Wind Waker was far less defined and more cartoony, less realism and stuff like that. I love both, but you know, Breath of the Wild, like I feel like kind of pulled that and perfected it a little bit or what have you, you know, and even for what it, I mean, they, even with that like kind of devolved art style a little bit, they still managed to make really cool like enemy designs and stuff like that. I thought for like, you know, like Dark Nuts and the Temple of Time or whatever, you know, the big, you know, buff dudes, even though they looked a little silly with the smaller legs and stuff, um but like Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, however, speaking to like moblins, like you mentioned, you know, even they looked like fucking ridiculous a little bit. So like just out of place almost. I feel like the design was not not upheld as far as expectation in that and those two entries, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, they were going for a very particular look, and I think they listened a little bit to like the bro gamers on that one. They were like, "Oh, Zelda should be an adult, and I mean, Link should be an adult, and it should be this way, and it should be dark, and we should, you know, be able to swing the sword." And it's like there are plenty of games to do that if that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
That's
and
not what.
those ones usually end up on the discount game shelf at GameStop for like $4.99 too.
Yeah, because there's a reason. I mean, like, look, it's great in concept, makes a great novel, and if you want to play D&D, like that's the yeah, sure, go for your dark fantasy, but like it's not Zelda.
Yeah, I
Zelda,
mean, don't take Zelda
Oh,
and make it something it's not, because it. I mean, I see exactly like what you're saying, and I couldn't agree more. As far as like, I think the developers are really and Nintendo and the major project, you know, teams who've worked on all these, you know, different things. They're the only ones who like I obviously they're the only ones who get to decide, but they're the only ones who should also get to decide what Link should be or what Zelda
right?
should be. You know what I'm saying? Like the changes they make are obviously relevant and important. I think they need to listen to, you know, which I feel like they've done a lot better in recent years, but listen to, you know, what they want to see out of Zelda and what they feel it has grown into or should be or could be, you know, the whole like, you know, we have Call of Duty for the, you know, bro gamer people, like leave
Mm-hmm.
Zelda for people who love Zelda for what it is. Don't come over and shit in our garden to try and make it like, you know, Call of Duty Hyrule Castle Assault or some shit.
Right. Yeah, which is why when Wind Waker came
Wind
out, and
Caper was my favorite.
Wind Waker came out, and everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people lost their collective shit because it looked cartoony, and it's like, shut up, it looks beautiful.
I
Like
love, yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous.
that cell shading is perfect for the GameCube and like
Oh
what it
yeah.
can do.
And I
And like
feel like it fit that, like just Wind Waker in general. I think that was the perfect game for that art style, like that iteration.
not to mention, okay, everybody that Tech World demo, which is what everybody wanted the next Zelda game to be, because it was like that dark fantasy adult Link fighting Ganon. That Tech World demo was made before Majora's Mask was made. That's how old that
Oh
was.
wow.
They were just trying to see what a GameCube could potentially do with the power they were going to put into it, which is what a tech demo is.
Right.
And that's actually the game that they were wanting to make when IG Inuma was like, no, I don't want to make that game. And he made Majora's Mask in a year just so they wouldn't make that game.
Right.
So obviously that's not going to be the game that they make. He didn't want to make that game to begin with. Like it was a tech demo. It was there to show what the GameCube could do, and that's it. It's the only reason it existed.
Yeah, I mean, what's that?
I said I found a secret seashell.
Oh, a secret seashell.
Are you also playing Link's Awakening now?
Yes, I am. That's the only other Zelda game I have on the Switch.
Nice.
For shame.
Son of a...
Oh, on the Switch. I see. Yeah.
Such a good game, though. Honestly.
It really is. It's making me itch to want to replay it, but I just started Bravely Default 2, and I've been addicted to that.
Fair. Do your thing, man.
Yeah. Which I know is not completely on topic, but can we just like openly admit that like Bravely Default is just a Final Fantasy game that doesn't take like any part of the name, but is for all intents and purposes otherwise Final Fantasy?
I've heard that's what it is, but I haven't played it, so I can't really.
It's even made by the same people. I mean, just to give you a base idea, like the classes and jobs exact same. Like they don't even change the names. Like the items all the same. Phoenix Down's a Phoenix Down. Ether's an Ether.
Oh wow, they didn't even try.
No, they don't even try to hide it. And the people who worked on or who created like the first Bravely Default it was like a combination of, I think, people who had worked on the proprietary Final Fantasy series prior to that, but it was also a large part compromised, if I'm not mistaken, by the people who like redid the DS and 3DS ports for like Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, like, all of those.
Right.
So, and it's published by Square, so it's like not a problem that there's no change, but yeah, they definitely don't even try. They're like, we've named potions and high potions and stuff like that for years. Why even? Fuck it. People will buy it, like, and they'll still love it. They don't care.
Right.
They don't have to learn, what this world's potion is called. So they'll just call it potion. and et cetera, examples. But yeah, no, it is great. I would recommend it.
So what do you think about Breath of the Wild's decision to completely get rid of potions and heart containers and stuff like that?
It was interesting. I did overall. I like kind of the way it went. It was challenging to adapt to at first, but then once you kind of started building your knowledge of like the different recipes that you can do and all the different effects that you can get from combining certain ingredients and, like temporary hearts and stuff like that really help to make up, the difference once you learn about those and how to kind of, I guess,
learn to be a cook, bitch.
Yeah, get good with cooking. It reminds me. Oh my god, this is a throwback. Did you ever watch like any of the extra features or shit like that on any of the old Mortal Kombats?
Most likely.
There's this. I could swear it's Annihilation. Like one of the crypt unlockables was this fucking intro for this little video. It's like, I think it was like 20 seconds or some shit, but it's cooking with Scorpion. And it's just this dude like dressed up as Scorpion, and he's got these like eye contacts where his eyes are widened over, and he sits there, he's like hammering away with like a butcher's knife on this, like trying to slice through the bone of this like fucking meat, and it's just like making a huge mess, shit's flying. And then at the end, like, because this guy's like, welcome to the kitchen where today we're preparing a little something special with our guest cook or chef Scorpion. And he's like done chopping, and then he like lifts it and he looks up and he's just like because his eyes are widened over and shit.
Right.
It's hilarious. You'll have to look it up or something, man. I guess I couldn't do it really justice, but that's hilarious.
I will have to look it up.
Probably just YouTube, like cooking with Scorpion.
Scorpion, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, stuff like that just made me die.
So as long as we're talking about goofy shit people can watch, what do we think about that old animated Legend of Zelda cartoon?
Excuse me, Richard. I didn't know we were going to be talking about my favorite 90s cartoon.
Your favorite, huh?
No, I mean, it's not my favorite, but I do love the fuck out of it for what it is. It is so over the top, dumb, stupid, like so corny, cheesy. It is so campy. It will make you like bleed your brains out through your nostrils. But if you are, a little past lit, it's pretty fucking hilarious. Or if you're like, 6 years old, you're like, oh, cool, it's Link. Haha, pew pew.
I'll tell you the only thing I really don't like about it is that it reminds me of the CDI Zeldas, and I'm like, can I?
I won. Well, that's a kiss, right?
Yeah.
I won. What you fucking in the game? Your end credit scene. Your the end is a little boy with a sword on the back of a fucking like whatever. I won. Fuck off. Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, it fits the game.
That's a bad Zelda game.
Let's be real. Yeah. Let me be clear. When I say Skyward Sword's the worst Zelda game, in my opinion, I am not counting the CDI Zeldas because they're not Zelda games as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean,
because if we are counting CDI Zelda, like, damn, those games are terrible.
It's pretty trash garbage spectacular.
For anyone who's watching or listening and doesn't know, which in the age of the internet, I don't know how that's possible. But there was a system called the Philips CDI, which was more or less a glorified DVD player, Laserdisc DVD player. And they had some Nintendo games that weren't made by Nintendo, and they got away with it because of the Super Nintendo. Because Nintendo had made a deal with Philips to make a CD add-on for the Super Nintendo. And then when they decided not to do it, Philips still got to make some Nintendo games for their disc system that they had pretty much already made.
Interesting.
And a couple of the games they made were 2 Zelda games that the best I can say about them is that they exist.
Hey.
I think it would be better to say about them that they don't. Just like, because then you're saving people from like having to
tracking them down. And
yeah.
Well, not only that, but like being forced to like putting themselves through it. Yeah. It's, oh my God. The hitboxing and like the like just the platforms having absolutely no spatial recognizable, like it's just like it's fucking awful. I can't even recall if they did or not, but I really like, and I hope, and I bet Nintendo has the same, like, pray to God they don't have like official licensed Nintendo product or some shit on the cover of that atrocity, because they're probably like,
I don't think they do.
Yeah, I should hope
Nintendo
not.
seal of quality? No, I don't think it has it.
Oh man, yeah, that would be awful.
Tragic.
It would be. Not even Reggie could save us from that.
Reggie, my body is Reggie. My body is ready, Fizame.
Yes. Holy shit! Nintendo's born just so many legends too. Can we just like stop for a second and appreciate that fucking company for so many, like, you got so many. Shigeru Miyamoto, and then oh man, now I'm brain farting. We're talking about him. IG Anima.
We had a Mario episode last season. We're doing a Zelda episode right now. We're doing a Pokemon episode later this season. And one of our very first guild decrees was that the Nintendo 64 was the best video game system pound for pound. So I could say we definitely love Nintendo around here.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I committed it to skin, you know.
Yeah.
I'll have that and my other random shiz forever. But I will always love Zelda. It was the first game I ever beat either, like the first Legend of Zelda. I mean, it was the first game I ever played. That was the first game I ever like I fully completed it.
It's probably my second.
I played it to completion.
And that's saying something.
Yeah, because it takes a minute. It takes a minute for me to complete. I don't complete like immediately. I don't pick up a game and then like.
Oh, okay, all right.
And then finish immediately. I like to take my time and play it. Good and long. Sometimes hard. Some hard is okay.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
What?
Get the joke. We're.
Oh no! All right, I'm fine.
Sorry, was I just like rolling myself into a ditch like harder than Baron was playing Breath of the Wild?
Shit. I didn't roll myself in there. I just started out there and couldn't get out. Done.
Oh, nice.
Dunsies.
Oh my God. So okay, one of the things about Breath of the Wild, when I first started playing it, there was a point at which I about shit myself and like cried almost. And it was because I didn't know it at first. But and as a warning to anybody who hasn't played Breath of the Wild, first of all, what's wrong with you? But also, if you do, you can only spawn Epona using the Epona amiibo or any amiibo that spawns her.
I think that you telling me about this.
Yeah, you can only spawn her once. She only spawns like items and shit like that, which I think are typically like apples and carrots and other random like vegetables and stuff afterwards. But yeah, so if you try to so once you spawn her, it as long as you've saved or whatever, like it will have shown that okay, you've redeemed an Epona, blah blah blah. And the way Breath of the Wild's set up, you have to stable your horse in order to save that as like.
Which, by the way, they've changed that.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, okay, so they basically made it so once you stable it, you can't get it again. But so I have 2 of that amiibo, and when I'm cycling through all my amiibo for a day, because you can only do each amiibo once per day. When I'm cycling through all my amiibo, I got to remember not to scan my second one because Epona will show up again.
Oh shit!
Every time I scan that one, instead of me getting something from it, like Epona will show up again, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, cool. I remember this now.
Well, that's definitely good to know. But this taking place week 2. Like after of the launch of the game, no, it had to have been the first week the game launched probably, and and yeah, so I'm like, oh my God, obviously I got to get Epona. I'm a huge I'm a huge fucking Ocarina of Time fan. I got to get that fucking Epona, man. And so yeah, it's like Office Space, that dude's neighbor. Hey Peter, check out Epona on channel 72, man. You can see her titties. Like. But anyway, so I had just happened to think about using amiibos when I was headed towards Lake Hylia and to the Zora's Domain. And again, if you haven't played Breath of the Wild, obviously, as we've talked about, is very open and the landscapes are very intricate and unique. Lake Hylia and the Zora's Domain area just so happens to be very weavy, windy pathways up and down mountains with rock passes that make it impossible to pass on horseback. Well, not in an open field, not next to a stable of any type. I was like, oh yeah, Epona, right now. And I'm on the top of this fucking bluff and mountain in the middle of all of this area. And I scan the amiibo and there she is in all her glory. Ah, Epona. I was like, mwah. But then I was like hopping on and trying to get back down the mountain. I was like, oh shit, now that I've scanned the Amiibo, I gotta go stable it. I tried for like 3 hours and I could not get that fucking horse out of that area to save my life. I had to start it over again. So I was like, because I wasn't going to put, 200 plus hours into the game and not have it fun. Rather lose the 20 hours I'd already played. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, that was always something that kind of was funny, at least initially. I will say, I guess more, God, again, I guess it's, talking about Legend of Zelda and the series and overall, I guess it's hard to not talk about the things that are different or great about all of the different ones,
Oh, yeah.
Our beginning topic just kind of, unraveled into this whole like, well, this is great because of this, and this wasn't so great because of that. But I love it because, I mean, you could just go on all day about, that's what's great about a series like Zelda that has so many different entries and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. The one thing I do trying to think of how to phrase this, because I didn't not like the way that this was done in Breath of the Wild, but I did miss it from the way of, I guess, kind of your general Zelda formula, and that's like the oh god, the whatever beast, divine beast. Those were really cool and they were great. And the way that you could, like, from the Sheikah Slate, like, kind of manipulate them into opening up different portions of, their explorable, parts and rooms and et cetera, et cetera. But they didn't feel anywhere near as fleshed out as any of the dungeons to me in previous games.
Sure.
And that was something. While the shrines, I get, was a kind of an answer to that in a bunch, like 190 or something like that, 190 shrines, or in a bunch of those little short bursts. So like I get that aspect of it, but I do miss, like, going to like the Gyarados hideout and like sneaking around, or like going to Death Mountain and going into like one of Death Mountain's volcanoes, cave caverns, or like
Sure.
the actual dungeon feel or aspect was admittedly, offering an open world as a somewhat alternative, sure, but I think that I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive, I guess is my point.
No, yeah, I absolutely right. And they definitely got rid of the traditional dungeon aspect. I feel like there were a few things, and not just the Divine Beast, that still felt like a Zelda dungeon, at least to me. Like Eventide Island, for example. It was optional, but like the kind of whole thing. And then the escort mission up the side of Death Mountain, I feel, was a better Death Mountain than the actual dungeon of Death Mountain in like Ocarina of Time.
Sure.
But I absolutely understand your point, and I don't disagree with it.
Why, thank you. It's a little Beetle for you. I've always, that's, speaking of shit that sticks with you, like, the tunes and everything else, the characters do too. Like the little snot nose shit from Wind Waker, like, and and Beetle,
And
I love
Tingle.
Beetle. Yeah. Yeah. They're so memorable. They stick with you. Even the ones you hate, like Grizz. Fucking speaking of Skyward Sword, what a shithead. Grizz, my god, if there's ever an unlikable Zelda character, like Grizz is the man to hate.
100%.
I mean, I'd even prefer to hang out with Girahim, I think is his name. The weapon for the demise, or demise. Yeah. Yeah. I would rather hang out with his arrogant ass than hang out with fucking, that shithead.
Yeah.
What a dickwad.
Grizz is one of those guys who messages random people on Facebook, random girls on Facebook, because he thinks their profile picture looks hot.
Yeah,
And,
he's like,
like-
hey, baby, let me send you a dick pic.
Uh,
You want wash out, baby, because the Groose is loose and he's ready to slide into your caboose.
it's just like feet pics, please.
Yeah. he's like
Like that's the only message he sends. There's no hey, how you doing? Just like immediate feet pics, please.
and sometimes he starts it off with, "Are you a fan of Flock of Seagulls?" And the immediate response he gets is, "No, but I can tell you are."
Yeah.
What a dick.
Oh man. Yeah, that's Grizz in a nutshell.
Yep.
So, speaking of dungeons, what's your favorite Zelda dungeon? Like, what of the games, and like, what boss really sticks with you? What dungeon really sticks with you?
I don't know why you even think this is a relevant question, because the obvious answer is any given water temple from any given Zelda game is 100% everybody's choice.
Everybody loves the water temples.
Yes. Obviously no. Okay, fuck that. I can't even keep up that facade any longer. I'll tell you what my least favorite one is, and it's from. Now, admittedly, like I said, most of the Zelda franchise games are "quote unquote" my favorite Zelda game, but the one that I kind of cited earlier with Majora's Mask has my least favorite dungeon in it. The water dungeon, or the water temple in that game, is fucking torture. I hate it.
Yeah.
Valves and the clams, and oh my god, just like it's awful. It's so bad. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why the water temples are innately just so awful, but they are.
I mean, yeah, they are.
Or at the very least, they're like a drag to play through comparatively. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
when I think
absolutely.
about like the dungeons that I love to play through, like the water temple is not one I'm like, oh yeah, dope. I'm coming up to the water temple. Nice. Like,
I can't wait.
yeah, oh man, I love it. One of my favorites though is probably Stonehenge Mountain in Majora's Mask. That and the
Okay.
Temple of Light in Ocarina of Time was also really good.
I think, oh man, why did I even pose this question? And now I have to answer it too. I think this is a real tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is.
Okay, so I thought about it,
Hit me with your best shot.
and I decided that as much as a cop out of it as it is,
I knew it. I could tell the words were approaching your lips.
it's like I don't have one. I just don't. But I will say, I do like the color dungeon.
The color dungeon?
Yes.
Which are you referring to?
So I believe it was Link's Awakening.
Okay.
You could play it on the Game Boy Color.
Yes.
And there was an entire extra dungeon that you could play if you were playing on the Game Boy Color that you couldn't play if you weren't, because it was a bunch of color-based puzzles.
Yeah. No, I remember what you're talking about now. That was pretty dope. I did like that.
Now, I will say they did people who are colorblind a great big favor in the Switch remake by adding some symbols and things like that to the different colors to make it possible to play even if you are colorblind, which was awfully nice of them.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So you can play a modified version of the color dungeon on the Switch.
I mean, that's really cool. They've done a lot in recent years for accessibility options and alternatives. I will say. That's awesome.
But I will say, yeah. But the color dungeon, I think, is my favorite just because it had an air of exclusivity about it, you know?
Okay, fair.
Not that I want anybody left out of anything, but like it was this
It's kind of like the
cool
same
thing.
appeal of like, you know, certain Pokemon only being capturable in, you know, Fire Red versus, you know,
Yeah,
Water Blue.
yeah, kind of. Just that, like I said, that air of exclusivity about it, where some people did it and some people didn't, and it was 100% optional. Like you could beat the entire game and not touch it, and that's usually not the case when it comes to dungeons in Zelda. Like of all the things that you can do and are optional and exploration and stuff like that, you had to beat the dungeons. Like that was like the core gameplay, but not with the
Right.
color dungeon. The color dungeon was just like you can do this, and if you do it, you get this cool tunic that you get to choose this tunic or that tunic. It makes you more powerful or gives you more defense,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yup.
that was just neat. You know,
Yeah.
you could do it
That
or
was
not. If you did it, you got a cool reward, and that's all there was to it.
it kind of gave you like a sense of like a very early New Game Plus almost.
Yeah,
Or
kinda.
maybe it was one of the earlier or earliest iterations of something like that, maybe.
Yeah. And the other cool thing is, like, if you had your save file, you could, when you got a Game Boy Color later on in life, you could plug your old cartridge into the Game Boy Color, and you didn't have to get, because like Link's Awakening was remade. There's Link's Awakening DX, I think, and that was remade
That's what I
for
had.
the Game Boy
Game
Color.
Boy Color.
Yeah, but you didn't have to get that. Like you could have the original version and just plug it into a Game Boy Color, and you got to do that dungeon, which was neat.
Yeah. I had both cartridges because I had a navy blue Game Boy Pocket for a long time, and then came out the color, and I had a purple Game Boy Color, and yeah, dude, I played the shit out of Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX on there. It was awesome. Just I always loved. I mean, even just the opening cutscene to see that in color, dude. Oh,
Oh yeah,
yeah, like when I like on the Game Boy, that was such a big moment. I remember for me, you know, playing Link's Awakening DX on my Game Boy Color for the first time and seeing that opening was just and they did it beautifully in the Switch port too.
oh yeah. Like it looks great. And
Oh
in
yeah.
case you haven't seen it, if you tuned into this stream, that was our countdown screen. Was the opening to Link's Awakening on the Switch.
Oh nice. Yeah, I didn't catch the opening of it.
Yeah, so that was our countdown screen. So if you didn't get to see it before, you got to see it there. And if anybody's watching this video on demand afterwards, you could always just rewind a little bit because you skipped that countdown. You're like, nah, I'm gonna get straight into the podcasty goodness. You can rewind just a little bit and just take a look at
it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be honest. I was a little disappointed with some of the announcements for Zelda's 35th anniversary. Like I wasn't looking for Skyward Sword HD.
No, it's better than getting Twilight Princess, though, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But what I really want is just for them to fucking remake Wind Waker again.
Again?
And put it on the Switch, yes. Or at least make it digitally purchasable on the Switch. They don't even have to do anything different.
A nice little port. A nice little port would be nice.
Yeah, just make it like $39.99 and put it on the eShop. And it can be a straight up port. You don't even have to touch it. I don't care. I just want to be able to play Wind Waker again on my Switch because it's my favorite Zelda game. Oh, hey, guess what?
What?
I've decided. I get one per episode, right?
Yeah. You get a guild decree? Yeah, absolutely.
I get one per episode?
Absolutely.
When okay, no one questions me when I say it's my favorite Zelda game. And like whenever I'm talking about insert X Zelda game here. Because I'm just going to start saying that for damn near all of them. And I don't want to be challenged on it.
All right. What you got to say it?
Huh?
You got from beginning to end, like.
Oh, okay.
What you're saying is
my guild decree is that when I call any of the Zelda games my favorite Zelda game, no matter if I'm contradicting myself or not, it is accepted as truth.
All right.
Guild decree.
like that one was used well.
I'm gonna say Zelda 2 is a good game. Guild Decree.
Oh,
Come at me,
shit.
bro.
We gonna fight?
It's a good game.
Fight.
We can. It's Guild Decree.
Fight.
That's a horrible use of a guild decree, but
Hey,
it's a decree.
you know what? Who are you to to judge my guild decree?
I mean, the guild master, but
Oh, you know what? Fair point. Let me back up a minute. Baron, I feel like on our most recent interaction, we may have gotten off on the wrong foot. I would like to formally offer you private feet pictures in your DMs as a way of apology.
You mean more because you've been sending them anyways?
What? We're live, man. We can't edit this out.
Oh, sorry.
You're over here spilling our tea. All right.
Sorry.
You're gonna make it all
so much tea
with
spillage.
all that sugary sweet teeness.
Sweet teeness.
Yeah. Sweet penis?
That's what it sounded like for a hot second.
Take us. Oh shit.
Sugary sweet teeness. Yep. That's something that was said on the podcast today.
It was.
Yep. It was indeed. It wasn't the most questionable thing either.
No,
you don't think so?
No, I mean, let's be honest. I'll admit, even I might have thrown away my guild decree this time, but it's only because I love Zelda, and I can't spend the rest of my life explaining away.
Hold on.
Every Zelda game is my favorite.
I think you may have misunderstood. I think he was saying my guild decree was a thrown away guild decree, not yours.
Yes, correct.
Oh, ha ha. I see.
Yeah.
Now the tables, how the turntables have
Turned? Toppled?
Yeah. It was a Michael Scott. I butchered it. It was a Michael Scott thing. How the turntables. I think that's how he stops. I think that's just it wrong.
Because he realizes what he's about to say, and he's like, "That doesn't make any sense."
Yeah. How the turntables have. He just lets it hang there. But yeah, so, all right, flip that script. I'm on Baron's side.
Oh wow. My guild decree was a waste?
No, I'm just kidding. It was a valid guild decree. You just think I'm wrong and stating that Skyward Sword is in a worldly lesser way horror than Zelda 2. And you know
what? Guild decree: Skyward Sword is a better game than second Zelda game.
You gotta say it or it doesn't count.
I said, Guild Decree: Skyward Sword is a better game than the second Zelda game.
Oh, see.
Oh, snap! Oh,
my poor heart.
Hey, I still like Zelda 2. Like I said, it's not anywhere near. It's one that I won't say is my favorite Zelda game. It's like one of the few that isn't. But it's definitely not at the top of my
Skyward Sword is my favorite game because of sword dowsing. Skyward Sword is my favorite game because of forced motion control. Skyward Sword is my favorite game because of bomb bowling. Skyward Sword is my favorite game because of that super slow flying beetle thing. Skyward Sword is my favorite game because 2 hook shots. Skyward Sword is
because 2 hook shots. Oh fuck. I gotta give it to you. That's pretty good. It's almost as good as those fucking monkeys in the bullshit forest temple that had in that game.
Yeah, Skyward Sword is my favorite game because of bullshit monkeys. Skyward
Oh wait, is it? Is it Skyward Sword? Fuck, I don't remember. But anyway,
No, it 100% is. Skyward Sword is my favorite game because of feet. Skyward Sword. Oh God! All right, I'm done.
Skyward Sword is my favorite game because spoon pots. but no,
that's the one legitimate one. That's the one where I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're right.
yeah, that was pretty good though. Oh
Skyward Sword is my favorite game because chasing a wagon on fire. Skyward
Sword is my favorite because of the indiscriminate boss enemy that they didn't finish.
Skyward Sword is my favorite game because of Grizz.
Is the least fuckable version of Impa.
Are you counting Breath of the Wild?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I can't question that.
I didn't say it had to be after the 100-year sleep because did you see her prior to that? I mean,
yeah, I've been playing Calamity, Age of Calamity.
Yeah, so then you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Bad looking girlies. You know what I'm saying?
Skyward Sword is my favorite game because cat retrieval service. Skyward Sword is my favorite game because of the stamina meter.
Wind Waker is my favorite game because I get to play Postal Service. I'm just making it applicable to each one. I'm just saying something dumb about all of them.
Fair.
Wind Waker is my favorite game because King Boatman. Wind Waker is my favorite game because
I liked King Boatman. I like the Red Lion.
I mean, I thought I do too, but he's kind of a bitch.
Okay, fair.
He's like, peasant, hop on my back and we shall go on a grand adventure. And you're like, who the fuck are you? He's like, I'm a boat king man. I'm the boat king man. We're gonna go places. Hop on my back. We're gonna go fishing. And what you think about that?
And what you think about that?
Yeah. You're gonna get, wiggity wavy on the ocean.
Hey Timmy, what's your favorite episode of Caster's Guild? I like the one where Guildmaster Rick talks about why Skyward Sword's his favorite game for a long time.
Oh Lord. Yeah, I mean, it certainly was the most rational and coherent point that has been made this eve. JK. I was just tomfoolering you.
Oh, tomfoolerins.
Yep. Sometimes I like to tomfoolerin when I'm flapjacking.
Oh. That's dangerous. My grandpa lives an eye that way.
Oh, wow. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Better watch them flapjacking so you put your eye out with that thing, kid.
This series of statements in this conversation is making me very uncomfortable.
Oh. I'm sorry. I thought this was America.
We were bonding for like a hot second. That's okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like, oh, you mean the friendship and the common, brotherly bond between three dudes just flapjacking it? Why you gotta make it weird, Rick? We're just sitting here flapjacking, man.
Just a circle flapjack.
Yeah. I mean, they are like flapjacks are just circular discs.
Yeah.
Of fluff and pancake. The cake of pans.
Indeed.
Cake of pans. Oh man, I forgot about Richard and his villa.
Richard's villa. Richard.
Yeah, and Link's Awakening.
I also fucking love Link's Awakening because you go to a fucking island with animals and a bear is a fucking cook. on this island. He's so dope. Well, like, okay, you can't tell. I love bears. That's why a lot of the times, like, I use a nickname or tag name Grizz and stuff, and that's been one I've used for a while. But yeah, I love bears. And so when I went up to that little fucking bear and he was like, "Oh, we're friends and cooking shit, and a small side quest," I was like, "This is the coolest fucking game ever."
Like all of this.
Bear is dope.
I'd like to sign up for the monthly subscription. I want regular updates. I want this to be a part of my life. All of it.
I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, it could be like 30 different types of, like, spice up your everyday eggs with honey or dishes with honey, blah blah blah. And I'd be like, yeah, I'll eat up every piece of that. I want it all. That bear is amazing.
Subscribe.
Yes. Thumbs up, subscribed, notification bell on. Yeah, all of it.
Making a comment on every one of the videos.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's so clever because the honey. I love
you. Wow. Okay.
I'm just saying.
All right.
That bear was not in any way, shape, or form my only friend for a year playing this game on the Game Boy Advance when I was in 4th grade. I'm just kidding. Oh. I'm just kidding at all.
Way to make me sad.
I'm just kidding. But I do love the shit out of that bear. He is awesome.
Pretty cool bear.
If anybody wants to talk shit about that bear, fight me. I'm just kidding.
That's an invitation. castersguild@gmail.com if you'd like to talk shit about the bear.
And fight Grizz.
Don't invite that. Now you're gonna make me sad. I'm talking shit about bears. We don't deserve bears. Bears are too good for people.
Oh man.
So where were we on Zelda or whatever?
All over the place. We're all over the place. And I'll be honest with you, this is the number one reason I'm not a regular Let's Player, because to try and to focus on this conversation and play a game at the same time has been it's difficult.
It is very difficult.
Well, that's why you have a chatterbox like me to eat up all your fucking airtime.
Exactly.
No, I mean, especially when it comes
to we invited you because you were a Zelda fan. We invited you because we knew you wouldn't shut up.
Oh man, fuck.
Ouch.
My pride. My feels. I thought you loved me.
In a good way.
Oh, okay.
Shut up in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You like it?
Oh god. Oh shit. That's a blast from the past, dude. I remember we used to fuck around like that all the time and like just little like one-liners or whatever, and I haven't heard that in a minute. It's strange to feel nostalgic for something that, happened not really that much more than like a year and a half, 2 years ago, but
yeah,
here we are. But yeah, just one more time for me, Richard. One more time.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Yes, I do like it. There it is. Man,
that's why we need games like Zelda, especially these days. Like, we need just good distractions because the crisis is still going on.
Yeah, ongoing. Here we are.
And like, let me tell you, I listen to our podcast because I believe in our little podcast, and
it's the hopefully, well, you say little, Richard, but I have faith one day it may not be. It'll be the once was little podcast that could.
But if you listen to our first episode, I make reference to the crisis, and I'm like, if people will still understand what we're talking about because it's still going on by the time I put this podcast up. And now it's like season 2.
Still
Still going.
The people still know what we're talking about. Yep. That's
It's almost been. No, it's been right at or just over maybe a year since I was on last. Last season I did episode 4, not titled A New Hope, to be confusing, but the Star Wars episode nonetheless, which I absolutely loved. I've actually listened to it a couple times and some of the other episodes, obviously. I don't want to just hear my own fucking voice before, I let that get too far out. I've listened to quite a few of the other episodes as well, because of course I really enjoy being a part of these types of discussions and stuff, but I also really like the stuff and the discussions that come out of the guests and topics you guys usually have or cover. And so I've listened to a couple of them, and I really dig a lot of it, and I absolutely love being on. But yeah, it's like right at or coming up on or maybe just past the year anniversary of that, or the last time I was on.
I think we didn't start season 1 until like March or April.
Okay, so yeah, it's coming right up on it then. Well, I mean, shit, I've got Spotify up. I can see what the post date was.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Episode 4, Star Wars, April 20th. Oh, fuck. 420.
Yeah, you were on the episode that went up on 420.
I think there was maybe some
talk about that.
Significance about that. I mean, make of it what you will. It's a good episode, though, I'll tell you that. And
yeah,
in my opinion, I enjoyed myself, the wise,
Absolutely. It was a great time.
Yeah.
All right. So, Legend of Zelda, it's been around for 35 years now. It's almost all been great.
Almost all. I'll take that qualifier.
You can't. Then that's the thing. You can't really say that about many other video game franchises. To be around for 35 years.
There are a few others that you could, put in that realm, but you're absolutely right. Very, very few make it to that status.
35 years and still going strong, still being one of the highest selling. Like, people still want to see more from Zelda 35 years later.
And they still find new ways to put new spins on it and new ideas, and in a lot of cases they work really well.
And that alone is just really saying something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that goes to show that it's earned its place and in its adoration that we all obviously have for it. Even great people like Robin Williams were so influenced by this fucking video game and the story that it told, or kind of portrayed, that he named his daughter Zelda Williams after. So
after the game,
right? And Robin Williams was an amazing dude. I fucking love Robin Williams. I don't know how you couldn't.
Right.
And so he was a genius, and he was also affected by it in a huge way. I mean, so like it all walks. It doesn't matter, if you can dig a game, give Zelda a shot. If you haven't, because there's a reason why it's gone on so long and succeeded the way it has, and this, that, the other. It's earned its place, I feel like, without a doubt.
Baron, you ready to throw a bow on this thing?
I'm trying, but it won't let me open up the egg. Oh, you mean the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd like to say I was here for most of the podcast, but trying to concentrate on this game has been complete hell while trying to get a conversation. But I'd like to think that this is probably a gimmick that we could probably stick with and do some other games and talk through it and be horrible at both.
Well, eventually, if I get a setup, I plan on I've talked to Rick about it a little bit, but try to get a little bit of setup going to where, I can stream, from my own setup. I don't currently have all the pieces I need available, but, I could always hop in and do a little bit, and somebody else can take a turn if they would be feel better suited for just gabbing as opposed to gabbing and playing, I can maybe try and take one of those off to play on a future episode, should that ever pop up or happen.
Yeah,
which I'm sure it will.
I just mean like if that specific instance became a, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it could also just be a thing that Rick and I can just trade off on too, because there's going to be
fair point.
Yeah, there's going to be stuff that he's going to be really into, and there's going to be stuff that I'm really into, and we can just take turns being moderators.
Hell yeah. Yeah, like I saw that I haven't had a chance to listen to this particular one yet, but I saw you did a pro wrestling episode. I was like,
That's one of my favorite episodes. Like, and one of my reasons one of my favorite episodes is because I don't know a whole lot about pro wrestling, so I did get to be a 100% moderator on that one, but I learned a lot. And I had a lot of fun hearing them talk about it and get really into it. So.
Yeah, I see that was the thing. Like, I was like, I'm gonna have to listen to that because I bet it's interesting because I'm of that same kind of like, wrestling never really like connected with me personally growing up and stuff. So I was never really into it myself, but I had friends that were and stuff. So I mean, much like I love Zelda, I know there's a lot of people who love like wrestling, and so it's interesting to hear people's perspectives on those types of things. Just like I'm sure. If we were having a discussion about, a video game franchise that was just as impactful that maybe I wasn't a huge biased fanboy of, I would find it interesting to listen to why people like XYZ game. So I feel you, man. I plan on checking it out.
All right, so let's try to wrap this one up again, Baron.
Oh shit! Yeah, my bad. Man, you said you brought me on to keep talking, and you're just gonna let me keep talking.
Sure.
I'm sitting here all night.
So anyways,
go ahead, throw it on.
We do have a lot of material to work with. So as you can tell, this was really, really easy for us to talk about. Well, even though we were distracted by these games, it was still easy to talk about. That, so I should say something there. Yeah, it's a great franchise. Despite its not amazing games, it's still great, and it's left a lasting impression on society, I believe, as a whole. So, what more of a bow does it need, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in. Brandon, if anybody had liked what you had to say, is there anywhere else they can find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can hit me up. I'm really only actively on Twitter at the moment. I don't do as much Facebook and stuff lately, but yeah, Twitter is at thatbrandonb37. You can find me there. Momentarily, I might have an alternate tag for content creation purposes specifically, but I can always link that later.
Absolutely. So email us at castersguild@gmail.com. Find us on the socials, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for being on. Bye.
Zelda. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. It's a secret to everyone.